There is a name for God that carries so much weight, so much history, and so much supernatural power that the moment it is spoken in faith, the atmosphere around your life begins to shift. The chains that have held you begin to break, and the heavens that seemed sealed above your head begin to open with a force and a speed that will leave every person around you completely speechless. And that name is the God of Jeremiah. Not a distant God, not a theoretical God, not a God who was powerful in Bible times, but has somehow grown weak or indifferent in the modern age. The same God who reached down into the darkest pit that a human soul has ever occupied, who heard the cry of a prophet so broken and so beaten that he wished he had never been born, who showed up in the middle of impossibility and turned the most devastating season of Jeremiah's life into the most glorious demonstration of divine faithfulness that the world had ever seen. That God, with that same power and that same love and that same unstoppable commitment to his children, is standing over your life right now and waiting for you to call his name one more time. You have been through enough. You have waited long enough. You have cried enough tears, fought enough battles, and carried enough weight to last a lifetime. And tonight, the God of Jeremiah is saying to your spirit with a voice louder than thunder and gentler than the morning wind, I have not forgotten you. I have not abandoned you. And I am about to show up for you exactly the way I showed up for my servant Jeremiah, suddenly, powerfully, and in a way that nobody around you will be able to explain except by the greatness of my name. Jeremiah was not a man who had an easy walk with God. He was a man who was called before he was born, chosen before he took his first breath, and set apart for a divine assignment so significant that the enemy targeted him from the very beginning of his ministry with a ferocity that would have destroyed any ordinary person. He was thrown into a pit by the very people he was sent to save. He was imprisoned, mocked, rejected, and left to die in circumstances so dark and so desperate that he cried out to God with words that shook heaven itself, words of raw pain, honest confusion, and the kind of desperate faith that refuses to let go even when every natural evidence says that God has stopped listening. And it was precisely in that place of deepest darkness, precisely in that moment of most crushing despair, that the God of Jeremiah showed up with a word so powerful and so specific that it became one of the most quoted promises in the entire Bible. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you a future and a hope. As Joshua Selman has consistently and powerfully emphasized, God never speaks his greatest promises into your life during your most comfortable seasons. He speaks them into your darkest moments, because it is in the dark that the light of his word shines with the most blinding and the most transforming power. The suspense of your story tonight is not whether God can show up for you the way he showed up for Jeremiah. The suspense is whether you will open your mouth and call his name one more time before you give up, because that one cry, that one prayer, that one act of desperate faith could be the very thing that releases everything heaven has been holding in reserve for your life. Tonight you are going to pray the prayer that Jeremiah prayed, not with perfect theology, not with a flawless track record, not with a faith that has never wavered, or a heart that has never doubted, but with the raw, honest, desperate sincerity of a soul that knows it has no other option and no other hope except the God who has never once failed a heart that genuinely cried out to him. You are going to say, God of Jeremiah, I am calling your name tonight from the same place Jeremiah called it, from the pit, from the prison, from the place of waiting that has lasted longer than I ever imagined it would. I am not coming to you because I have everything together. I am coming to you because I have nothing left except your name and your word and your promise that you have a plan for my life that is good and not evil. God of Jeremiah, you showed up for him in the pit. Show up for me tonight. You released him from the prison. Release me from everything that has been holding me back. You turned his mourning into dancing and his ashes